The Cincinnati Bengals were added to the AFL lineup, being placed in the West. This moment on the timeline is unique. Cincinnati wasn't even in the same league as the Cleveland Browns yet, but no matter, this rivalry was born when the Bengals were born. It's known as the Battle for Ohio, but it should have been known as the Brown-Modell feud. Both teams were founded by Paul Brown. He's as big a football legend in Ohio as there is.
The game's greatest coach and the grandest guy in the world, Paul Brown. Hello.
Art Modell bought the team in 1961, and he fired Brown 2 years later.
Paul Brown will no longer serve in the capacities of head coach and general manager.
He called me on the phone. He said, "They took my team away from me." His voice cracked. That was the only time I ever heard him lose his emotional composure. It was a traumatic experience. He never forgave Art Modell.
In modern terms, this was the equivalent of someone buying the Patriots and firing Bill Belichick.
Art Modell did the unfathomable thing of firing Paul Brown. One of the great lines at the time was, it was like the Terminal Tower in Cleveland collapsing. That was pretty hard for a whole generation to accept.
To me, it don't seem right.
Who do you work for?
Well, I work for the Cleveland Browns.
After Brown left the organization, he went to work on getting back into the league. He didn't just look for a new job, he played a central role in launching the Bengals. You didn't just have the in-state factor then when they played. It was as personal as it gets. Ever notice the Browns and Bengals share the same color scheme? Not a coincidence.
Art Modell in Cleveland complained that we had ripped off the Cleveland Browns uniform. My dad's rejoinder was, who ripped off whose uniform?
Hometown Cleveland Browns are in white. Of course, we have a marked similarity in the uniforms of these two ball clubs.
Brown wouldn't get a shot at revenge right away, though. He had to wait until 1970 when the AFL and NFL finally merged. They divided teams up into 6 divisions. What makes them special, they lasted for 32 years. Each conference had its own East, West, and Central, along with the Bengals and Browns, which allowed the Ohio Showdown to finally take place. Paul Brown and his Bengals versus the team that bore his name.
In one of the dramatic moments in sport, Paul Brown returned to Cleveland after 8 years. The game was the official beginning of interstate warfare.
1970, Modell gets on the board first. Browns win 30-27.
And Nelson's pass to Milt Moore and rallied the Browns and gave Coach Collier a throat-grabbing 30-27 victory over the Bengals.
Then late in the year, the rematch. Brown exacted his revenge, the Bengals winning the game as part of a 7-game win streak that helped Cincinnati win the division by 1 game, over the Browns no less.
The happiest moment of Paul Brown's career was beating the Browns.
I can remember the first time we beat Cleveland. I got sort of carried away there.
The only time I ever saw Paul cry is when we beat Cleveland and we gave him the game away.
The apex of this feud came in 1989, and the game wasn't even between the Browns and Bengals.
We're getting some snowballs thrown onto the field.
The week before in Cleveland, there was a snowball incident. And it was snowing in Cincinnati the next week against Seattle. Snowballs were flying. Sam, knowing where the microphone was, picked up the microphone and said,
"Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, and get them out of here. You don't live in Cleveland, you live in Cincinnati."
Those are words that Sam will hear time and time again when he goes into Cleveland.